room was tense. The powerful leaders from West Africa and beyond sat quietly, waiting for the meeting to begin. But no one expected what was about to happen. Suddenly, U.S. President Donald Trump stood up. His face was stern, his voice sharp. "Jail him now," he ordered loudly, pointing at Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young and determined leader of Burkina Faso. A heavy silence fell. The ECOWAS President blinked, shocked. Others in the room froze. No one had ever heard Trump speak like this in such a serious meeting. Traoré sat calmly, but his eyes showed a fire. He knew this moment could change everything, not just for him, but for his country and the whole continent. What had Traoré done to deserve such a demand? Why was Trump so furious? The questions hung in the air, but no one dared speak. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone, like a storm ready to explode. After the explosive order, the meeting broke into quiet whispers behind closed doors. Traoré was called aside. He faced the ECOWAS President, whose face was pale and conflicted. "You must answer for the U.S., the President whispered. "They want you locked away." Traoré's heart raced. He had always believed in justice and peace. His mission was to fight corruption, protect his people, and bring hope to Burkina Faso. How could his work be seen as a crime? He thought of the many faces he represented, the mothers, fathers, and children depending on him. Their trust was sacred, yet powerful forces wanted to silence him. Traoré took a deep breath and whispered back, "I will not run. I will face whatever comes with truth." Outside, cameras flashed, and news spread fast. The world was watching. Would justice prevail, or would fear win? In the hours after the order, Traoré walked alone in the quiet halls of his office. The night outside was calm, but inside, his mind was a battlefield. He remembered the struggles he had faced, years of fighting corruption, threats from enemies, and the heavy weight of leadership. But he also remembered why he started, the hope in the eyes of his people, the promise of a better future. He knew the road ahead would be hard. Powerful men wanted to break him, but he would not give up. As the city lights flickered outside, Traoré whispered a prayer for strength. This was just the beginning, and the world was about to see a leader unlike any other. The room was silent. No one moved after Trump's harsh order. Eyes darted between the leaders, searching for a reaction. The ECOWAS President's hands trembled slightly. His usual confident face was pale. This was a moment unlike any before. Traoré sat perfectly still. His calm was almost a challenge. Around him, security guards exchanged nervous glances. Outside the room, reporters sensed something was wrong. Phones buzzed, the news would spread fast, but inside, time seemed frozen. What could explain Trump's anger? What threat did Traoré represent? Even the most seasoned diplomats were confused. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken fears. And yet Traoré did not flinch. His eyes met Trump's briefly. A silent message passed between them, one of courage and unwavering strength. The room waited for what would come next. After the meeting, Traoré was led to a private room. Only a few trusted aides were allowed inside. The ECOWAS President approached quietly. "This is serious," he whispered. "You must understand, they believe you threaten their interests." Traoré's heart beat faster, but his voice was steady. "I serve my people. I fight for justice. If that makes me a threat, so be it." His aides exchanged worried looks. They knew the power against them was immense. The president added, "You must be careful. They have allies everywhere, even within our own ranks." Traoré nodded. He thought of his family, his country. The weight of their hopes was heavier than ever. He vowed silently, "I will not let fear control me. My fight is just beginning." Outside, the world was watching, unaware of the dangerous game unfolding in the shadows. That night, Alone in his quarters, Traoré stared at the ceiling. The weight of the world pressed down on his shoulders. He remembered the faces of the people in his village. Children smiling despite hardships, mothers working tirelessly. He thought of promises made, dreams of peace and prosperity. Could he protect them? Could he stand firm against such powerful enemies? His hands clenched into fists. "I am not alone," he whispered. "My people are with me." Tears welled up, but he swallowed them. Leaders did not cry in front of the world. Still, inside, his heart ached. This was more than politics. It was a battle for dignity, for the future, and he was ready to face it, no matter the cost. Days passed, but the world's eyes were still glued to the unfolding drama. Behind closed doors, silence weighed heavily on Traoré and those close to him. The ECOWAS headquarters buzzed with rumors and fears. Traoré's supporters whispered prayers, while enemies plotted quietly. Traoré sat quietly in meetings, listening, but always thinking 2 steps ahead. His calm exterior hid the storm inside. He knew the demand to jail him was not just about politics. It was about power, control, and fear of change. But Traoré was no ordinary leader. His heart beat for the people who had suffered for too long. He thought of his childhood, of the dusty streets where he played, the struggles his family endured. "I must stand strong," he told himself. "Not for me, but for them." In the quiet moments, tears sometimes came, but he wiped them away. This battle was bigger than one man's pain. Not everyone feared the storm. In secret, many were quietly rallying behind Traoré. Young activists, farmers, mothers, and teachers shared stories of how Traoré had inspired hope. Messages of support poured in from across the continent. Even some former skeptics began to believe in his vision. One evening, Traoré's closest aide handed him a letter from a small village far away. It said simply, "We stand with you. You carry our dreams." These words touched Traoré deeply. They reminded him why he could never back down. His resolve grew stronger, fueled by the voices of those who believed in justice and peace. The road ahead was uncertain, but with every quiet cheer from the people, Traoré felt less alone. The battle for his freedom was also a battle for the future of millions. As the days wore on, tensions outside the meeting rooms grew louder. Protests began quietly in the streets of Ouagadougou, Traoré's home city. Small groups gathered, holding signs calling for justice. News outlets picked up the story, showing footage of people singing and praying for their leader. Meanwhile, powerful forces tried to shut down the voices rising against the demand to imprison Traoré. In the shadows, deals were being made and threats whispered. But Traoré stayed focused. He met with advisors and friends late into the night. "We must be careful," one warned. "This storm could break many." Traoré nodded. But storms also wash away the old and bring new life. He looked out his window, seeing the city lights flicker in the dark. The fight was far from over, but the world was beginning to see a leader who refused to be broken. Late one night, Traoré received a secret message from an unknown source. It warned that powerful people were moving quietly to make Trump's order a reality. The message said Traoré's arrest could happen at any moment, even without public warning. This news hit Traoré hard. He thought of his family, his mother who had raised him with love, his little sister who believed he was a hero. He realized this fight was no longer just about politics. It was about survival. Traoré met with his closest advisors, sharing the warning. They planned carefully to protect him and continue their work. Even in danger, Traoré's faith in justice never wavered. "We will face this," he told his team, "together." The nights grew longer. The world outside waited in silence, unaware how close history was to being made. The battle was no longer just in meetings or speeches. It was in whispers and shadows. Traoré's supporters risked everything to spread the truth about his mission. Hidden videos showed Traore visiting villages, helping children, and fighting corruption. These clips went viral, but with every share, danger grew. One night, a trusted aide was arrested. The message was clear: no one was safe. Yet the people's voices grew louder. In the quiet streets, hope sparked. Traore held on to that hope, knowing his fight was about more than him. It was for millions longing for change. As pressure mounted, Traore never lost his calm. When asked about the threats, he smiled gently. "Fear is a cage. I choose freedom." He continued to work tirelessly, visiting hospitals, schools, and farms. Children ran to greet him, their faces bright with hope. His strength inspired many who had felt powerless. Tears welled in his eyes as he listened to a mother thank him for protecting her family. In that moment, Traore knew why he endured. No matter the storm, his spirit was unbreakable. The world was watching a leader who refused to be silenced. Just when the pressure seemed unbearable, a surprising voice spoke up in Traore's favor. A respected former diplomat, known for his honesty, publicly praised Traore's leadership and courage. His words shocked many. "Captain Traore is a man of integrity. To jail him now would be a grave mistake." This unexpected support sent ripples through the political circles. For Traore, it was a beacon of hope in dark times. He knew that even in the hardest battles, allies could appear when least expected. His smile was quiet, but full of new strength. Back home, in Burkina Faso, people gathered in small groups. They prayed silently, hoping their leader would be protected. Old men told stories of bravery, and young women sang songs of freedom. Children held pictures of Traore close to their hearts. News of the threats had reached every corner, but so had the stories of Traore's kindness and bravery. The country held its breath, united in hope and faith. They believed in a leader who never gave up on them. Traore faced a choice: give in to fear or stand tall. He chose courage. In a live broadcast, he addressed his people. His voice was calm yet full of fire. "I will never betray the trust you have given me," he said. "Together, we will overcome any challenge." Tears streamed down the faces of many watching. His words moved hearts. It was clear. Traore was not just a leader. He was a symbol of hope. Traore's world shifted again when whispers of betrayal surfaced. Someone close to him had leaked confidential information to the powerful forces pushing for his arrest. The news struck like a thunderbolt. His trusted circle suddenly felt smaller. Yet Traore refused to let bitterness grow in his heart. Instead, he chose to focus on the mission, the future of his people. His eyes, once full of quiet hope, now burned with determination. "I will not waste energy on betrayal," he said softly. "I will fight for justice, no matter who stands against me." His team grew closer, bound by trust and shared purpose. This painful test only strengthened Traore's resolve. That night, after a long day of tense meetings, Traore sat alone in his room. He allowed himself a rare moment of weakness. Tears fell freely, not from fear, but from the overwhelming weight of responsibility. He thought of his family, the sacrifices they made for his dreams. He thought of the children who looked to him for hope. His heart ached with the burden of leadership. But beneath the tears was a flame, a promise he made to himself and his people. He would carry on, no matter the cost. Because giving up was not an option. The next morning brought a fresh resolve. Traore stood before his team, the morning sun casting a warm glow through the windows. "Today we begin again," he said firmly. Plans were made to protect their work and strengthen alliances. Outside, the city awoke to the sounds of life. Children laughing, vendors calling out, hope rising. Traore stepped outside, breathing deeply. The battle was far from over, but so was the fear. A new dawn was here, and with it the promise of change. The world watched quietly as Traoré continued his work amid growing threats. He did not shout or demand attention. Instead, he showed silent courage in every action. Visiting a small village, he knelt beside a sick child, offering hope where there was none. The child's mother grasped his hand, tears in her eyes. This was the real strength of a leader, not in words, but in love and sacrifice. Despite knowing his life was at risk, Traoré smiled and promised, "We will build a future together." His humble bravery moved many who saw it. In moments like this, the political battles seemed distant. Here was a man who carried the heart of his people on his shoulders. News of Trump's demand to jail Traoré spread worldwide. Some powerful countries supported the call. Others voiced concern. International media debated fiercely. But voices from the streets of Burkina Faso grew louder. They sang songs of hope, demanding their leader be heard and respected. Traoré's story became a symbol of resistance, a beacon to many oppressed leaders fighting for justice. As the storm raged, Traoré stood firm. He was no longer just a man, he was a movement. Pressure mounted to a breaking point. Behind closed doors, Traoré faced intense questioning by powerful diplomats. The room was cold, filled with voices demanding his silence. But Traoré remained calm. He looked each person in the eye and spoke truth. "I am here for my people," he said. "You cannot silence their voice through fear." His words shook the room. Though the fight was far from over, that moment marked a turning point. A leader had risen who would not be broken. Even as the world's eyes focused on the political storm, Traoré found strength in quiet moments. In his office, he kept a worn photo of his family, reminding him why he fought so hard. The faces of his mother, father, and siblings brought both pain and hope. Each day he carried their love like armor. He knew his fight was more than politics. It was a promise to protect the people who trusted him. Despite threats and betrayals, Traoré's heart never wavered. This hidden strength, unseen by many, was the true power behind his calm exterior. The people's support for Traoré began to spread beyond Burkina Faso. Across Africa and the world, voices raised in solidarity. Young leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens shared stories of Traoré's courage. They spoke of a leader who stood for justice against impossible odds. In online forums and city squares, the movement grew. Traoré's name became a symbol of hope. This rising tide could not be ignored. Even those who wanted him silenced felt the power of a people united. The day arrived when the ECOWAS President had to respond publicly. The world held its breath. In a packed press room, cameras flashed. The President spoke with a steady voice but visible tension. He announced that after careful consideration, Captain Ibrahim Traoré would remain free. His leadership was recognized as vital for the region's future. The crowd outside erupted in cheers. Traoré's supporters wept tears of relief and joy. But for Traoré, this was just one battle won. The journey toward justice and peace was far from over. Despite the high-level drama, Traoré never forgot where he came from. He returned to a village devastated by conflict and poverty. Children ran to greet him, their smiles bright but eyes full of questions. A mother held her baby close and thanked Traoré for fighting for their safety. Tears filled his eyes. This was the real reason for his struggle. Not power or fame, but the faces of people who needed hope. Every hug, every word of thanks reminded him of his promise. He vowed silently, "No matter what happens, I will never abandon them." Back in the political halls, tension grew. Some leaders wanted Traoré silenced forever. Secret meetings whispered threats. But Traoré's supporters grew louder and stronger. They marched peacefully, holding candles and singing songs of freedom. The world watched as a quiet revolution blossomed. Traoré's calm determination became a light in dark times. His courage inspired millions to believe in a better future. In a dramatic meeting, the ECOWAS President revealed his decision. After weighing the fierce support for Traoré and the risks of silencing him, he chose a path of peace. Traoré would remain free and continue his work. The announcement was met with cheers and tears. For many, it was a moment of hope after weeks of fear. For Traoré, it was a reminder: the fight for justice never ends. But today, victory was theirs. As the final days approached, tension filled the air like a quiet thunder. Traoré knew the battle was not just for himself, but for the future of his country and continent. In the quiet moments, he reflected on every sacrifice made: the long nights, the tears, the lost friends. His heart ached for those who suffered in silence. Yet through it all, a calm settled within him, a calm born from knowing he stood on the right side of history. He looked to the sky, whispering a silent prayer for strength and peace. The storm was coming, but he was ready. The world held its breath as Traoré stepped into the room for the final meeting. Powerful voices argued, tension crackling like lightning. But Traoré's voice rang clear, steady, and full of conviction. "I am here to serve my people, to protect their hopes and dreams," he said. "No threat, no demand can silence the voice of justice." Tears welled up in many eyes as the room, once frozen, began to shift. The powerful leaders saw not a threat, but a man driven by love and courage. In that moment, history tilted toward hope. As the meeting ended, Traoré stepped outside to a sea of supporters. Cheers filled the air, tears flowing freely. This was more than a victory. It was a promise that courage and truth would prevail. Traoré looked into the faces of his people and smiled, knowing the journey ahead would still be hard, but together, they would rise. To my viewers, if this story moved your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Your support fuels stories of courage and hope. Together, let's stand for justice. Comment your feelings, share this story, and join our growing family. Because every voice matters, and together, we can change the world.